Hi friends, Regina Sanchez here, your spiritual life and health coach. I am here to finally give you an update on the status of my massive quilt that I finally finished. And it actually is on my bed and I've been using it. And so this video is long awaited and coming, and I'm sorry it's taken me so long to get back and finalize this project with you. But the quilt is done. The quilt is on my bed. And initially, and I'll kind of explain it in the video when I show you the quilt, but initially I was a little disappointed in my work because there were some imperfections that I made, and I was kind of unhappy with it. But once the quilt got on the bed, and I use it, you don't even necessarily notice it, of course. I remember seeing a meme a couple of weeks ago that said, when someone's laying under your quilt, they don't notice the unmatched points. So it was well taken. And I don't necessarily look for, or I don't see my imperfections, but wow, what a great feeling it was to pick up the quilt from my quilter, Carly, who did a great job, and sew the binding on, and then hand sew it, sew it with a machine, and then hand sew the binding, which is actually my favorite part of the quilt, and then put it on my bed. What a relief, and what a great feeling it was to know that I did push through in spite of all the problems that I was encountering along the way, the miscalculations and so forth. I did, when I finished it, say, I don't know if I will be very soon or anytime soon making a quilt this size again. But actually, I would, because I would next time make sure I find a pattern that is a king size pattern, and I don't find a pattern that's, for a baby quilt or a lap size and try to calculate it into a king size. That I would not do again. But making a quilt that size, I would do again. Not in the next few months, but I would do it again. And it was a very fulfilling feeling for me to know that I did finish it. I did push through, because let me tell you, years ago, when I would be especially when I would be walking through the midst of the trauma that had been in my life that hadn't even seen the light of healing, that would have been put away in a closet or thrown in the garbage. Probably put in a closet, because there's a lot of money in this quilt. But I would have been very discouraged, and I would not have pushed through to bring it to completion. And so I speak a lot on people really focusing on getting healed from their trauma. It's critical. It's important. People think that because they've moved from it, they think because they've moved from it that it's gone. And I was ministering to this beautiful young mom the other day who thought, when I met my husband, I thought all the stuff from my past was just going to go away. And I said, no, it doesn't, until it receives the fullness of healing from the Lord. And as I explained to her, you could go through therapy, you could read self-help books, you could do a lot of things, but until you give that specific pain to the Lord and ask Him to heal it, and it's a very simple process. In the midst of your pain, in the midst of a memory, in the midst of a painful issue coming up for you, give it to the Lord. Just pray, Father, this pain, can you take this pain from me and bring me healing? Let your Holy Spirit fill me to overflowing, so that this pain, leaves my body. And He'll do it. He did it for me every single time. And I walked out of, when I got to this process, I was with a therapist, a Christian counselor, who believed in deliverance, who believed in the power of prayer. And so after I got done sitting in a fetal position, crying my heart out, she would ask me to now give it to Jesus. Can you give this to Jesus and ask him to heal? And I did. And I telling you, I walked out of every session free, pain-free, emotional pain-free. So I just want to update you. I just want to encourage you. First, I want to encourage you on going to the Lord for your healing and being sure that the trauma that you've experienced, whether it's new trauma or old trauma, gets healing. It gets healed and is brought to the Lord. And, if you need help doing that, it's something you could do on your own. But if you need help, consider a counselor, a Christian counselor that would do that, or a coach. And that would be something that I could help you get through. It's not a hard process, although it can feel hard. But once you do it, and once you give it to the Lord for healing, you will be so happy and wonder why you waited so long to do this. So anyway, I'm going to now bring you to my bedroom and show you the quilt because it's on my bed, and just hope that this brought you some encouragement yourself. And if you feel stuck and you feel like you can't move forward in little projects, because let me tell you, unhealed trauma, although you think it's not there anymore because you're not in the midst of dealing with those issues, it's there. It's stuffed down there, and you're just piling other things on top of it. But it will pop its head, and it will get triggered. And sometimes it's a really weird thing that triggers it that makes no sense. But because there's that unhealed pain in your heart, in your soul, in your body, it will come up. So I just encourage you, get healing, be healed. And know that the Father loves you, and he doesn't want you living in a state of oppression, depression, bondage. And as I began to say, if you're finding it difficult to do projects or, even life skills, I have a client who struggles even trying to do life things, simple life things. So friends, don't live that way. That's all I want to say. Don't live that way. Let the Lord heal you. Bring it to the Lord. He'll heal you, I promise. That's his promise. It's not my promise, it's his promise. But it's my promise too. So be blessed, be encouraged, and here's the next part of the unveiling of my quilt. God bless. Thanks for listening. So here is the finished quilt. Now, for full disclosure, I love it. I'm pleased with it, but I definitely see issues that I had with it. Number one, trying to recalculate the size on my own by the pattern not being big enough for a king-size bed. I made lots of mistakes. And it would just take a long time to go into the details of those mistakes. But all in all, I'm pleased with my quilt. I'm happy. I would probably not try again to take a pattern that's not the size that I want and try to figure it out myself at this stage of my sewing. I would probably I'd probably get a pattern for the size of the bed that I wanted, but I did it. I finished it, and it was a great big undertaking, but I'm pleased. And let me just go up close so you could see the quilting pattern. Now, because I'm not sure this was the right pattern that I chose, because here you could see, well, no, you can't. But in some spots, there was some puckering because, and it wasn't the quilter, she did a great job. But each piece, or, each block had so many little pieces to it. And if you're, a quarter of an inch off or whatever, it just so messes up the calculations of everything. But one of the things that I did have a hard time with getting to be nice and flat, which you don't really see it here, is this sashing. But in some places it's puckering a little. And I'm not pleased with that. I think right here it's puckering a little. And then with this type of pattern that I had, I think it enhanced the puckering. But anyway, I just wanted to send you this last video of my quilt that it is done. I think I calculated about 86 hours in putting this together. So anyway, big undertaking. I'm glad I tackled it. I'm glad I finished and got to the end of where I wanted to. And I'm enjoying it. So thanks for following me along.